For women, it's a bigger reset than January 1st. It's back to school. And my next guest thinks now is the perfect opportunity for you to remember and reset your parenting goals. Host of the online community Middle Moms, Jessi Berger is joining me to explain. It's great to see you.
Hi, thanks, Brooke.
So at this point, kids are back in school, and you do believe this is a golden time for parents to step back, take a breath, and reassess. Why the timing? Why right now?
Well, I don't know about you, but I've heard all my mom friends be like, oh, you know what, everything's so crazy, but when we get back to school, when we get back to school, we'll have a bedtime. When we get back to school, we're gonna start making dinners again. Back to school is really the time when moms reset, like way more than January.
Yes.
Just everything like gets back on a schedule. It's not so free. It just, you're like, everybody's ready for it. We're all ready to get back into our systems.
I found myself almost humble bragging to my sister the other day. I've cooked dinner 5 days this week. But there is something about that.
There's a rhythm.
And that rhythm. Yeah, there's a settlement for sure. You have 6 ways parents and families can reset for fall. And the first is to recenter or to write a vision statement.
Yeah, like most people want to jump into their goals. Like, I'm just going to write some goals. But if you start with a vision statement, then you have a place to like see what's really important to you, right? A vision statement is really just taking a minute and intentionally writing down what's important to you, right? What you value, what you want your life to like look like and feel like, and like everything you do should be focusing you towards that. So if you take a minute, you write that vision statement, you be really intentional, then that gives you like a focus and a purpose for all the actions that come after that.
I like that you described that in such an approachable way. I think sometimes when you talk about a family mission statement or a personal vision statement, we feel like it has to be some artful, eloquent, elaborate phrase, you know, collection of phrases.
You have to get it right.
When really it could just be a simple sentence for now. Like, what is my vision for this season? What is my vision for this chapter?
Yeah, and what I love about like vision statements is it's not just for moms or for families. Like, we had my daughter who went to college this like last week. We said, write a vision statement for these college years. I've seen grandparents write vision statements like, how do I want to show up as a grandma or a grandpa? How do I want to help, you know, like these younger generations come up? Anybody can write a vision statement. It just guides your life a little better.
Yeah, it sort of becomes that North Star. I think guide is a great word. And then you say the goals from there can support that vision.
Yeah, so all your goals then should feed into making that vision like come alive, right? And so you start thinking about, like if your vision statement said, we support our family, then it's like, okay, how do we support our family? Well, one of our goals could be like, we show up to one of our kids' activities every week. And so you just like start building your goals to be like the foundational support around that vision statement.
Do you like to get the kids to buy in on this as well?
Okay, if you can get your kids to buy in, it's gonna be 1,000 times easier, right? So like you're doing a family vision statement, you should put it together as a family, right? And when your kids have bought in, they'll show up for it in a way they won't. Like if you said to your kids, we wanna have family breakfast every morning, and they hadn't bought into that vision and that goal, like then every morning is gonna be a fight. You're gonna be like pulling them out of bed and you're gonna be like, get dressed, get dressed. It's gonna be a struggle. Where if you've said like, hey, are you guys into this? And your kids are saying things like, yeah, let's have pancakes every Monday. Or if it was like my house, they'd be like, can we have a sugar cereal every Friday, right?
The ultimate treat.
I know, but then they're bought into it and then they're gonna help move your goals along and that vision just becomes so much easier to obtain.
Well, and it's a wise way to look at it, Jessi, because I imagine you're surprised. Parents are often surprised at what matters to their kids and what doesn't. What we think matters anyway to our kids might not ultimately matter to them in the end.
Yeah, it's not always the same. And sometimes it's really nice to hear what your kids come up with. And you think, oh, I never thought of that. But you're right, that is important. Let's do that together.
You advise to remember your season. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so your life just has different seasons. So I would imagine that the season that you're in, you have 4 little kids, 8 and under,
yes, ma'am,
is different than my season where all I have is teenagers, right? And so if you said something like we were talking about breakfast before, and you said, I want everybody to eat breakfast together, that would be easier in a season where all your kids are together in the mornings, they all go to the same school. At my house where it's like somebody leaves at 6 and somebody leaves at 7 o'clock and somebody leaves at 7:33 for their bus, nobody's eating breakfast at the same time. So they're different seasons. And if you can think about the season that you're in and kind of pay attention to that, and then lean into the things that are easier in that season and stay away from those things that are just gonna be an uphill battle. I imagine grandparenting is a totally different season because you don't have to do the everyday rules and regulations that, that moms have to do.
Yeah.
So you can just like feel it out differently, and maybe you see yourself more as support staff instead of like the main person there.
I love thinking of that too as a way to honor that chapter. Like a lot of times we think maybe that would fall as a restriction, like, oh, I shouldn't do that, or I can't do that, or that won't work for me. But ultimately, how can I show up and honor this chapter, whether it be teenagers or preteens or littles? Like, what can I do to best highlight and shine a light on this beautiful piece of life?
Because you have to celebrate that moment because they go. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I wish I had held those babies a little longer. I wish, I had put all the kindergarten art up on the fridge. Like, I wish I had held it just a little bit tighter, a little bit longer. That's kind of how you celebrate that season that you're in. And they go fast. Yeah. You got to hold on to them when you've got them.
You probably ultimately feel like that. I've decided no matter what you do or how you do it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But the point stands to be in the present and to celebrate your chapter. I love that. Keep it simple and write it down.
Yes. So I don't know about you, but I am so guilty of just like throwing all my energy in. I've got a list of 20 things we're gonna do and this is gonna be so great. And like 2 weeks into it, I am overwhelmed, it's too much, and I just throw it all out the window.
Yeah.
And I would be so much better if you just pick, 3-4 goals, you just, simplify it. What's most important? And that's where your vision statement helps. Because now these are the most important things. The other stuff might have to slide. But if you can get a few of the things done really well, you're going to be just miles ahead of where you would be if you just tried to do everything a little bit, got overwhelmed.
Yeah, essentially you're checking everything against that vision statement, like back to square one.
You're circling back all the time and saying, does this really get me where I want to go? My vision statement's where I want to end up. Is this really going to get me there? If not, you might let it go.
And I do see the wisdom, Jessi, in conclusion of writing it down, of like, there's something committal about that. You know what I mean? There's something permanent.
Well, and sometimes I have what I call mom brain. Like, I have the best idea, and 10 seconds later, it's gone. So you could have the best goal in the world, but if you can't remember it, it's not gonna do you any good.
It's why my note app on my phone looks the way it does right now, because there's a few tabs.
It's just full of everything. I know how it goes. So just write it down, put it somewhere that everybody can see it. That way you remember it, they remember it. At our house, it's on our pantry door because everybody's in and out of there all day long.
Do you know what yours says off the top of your head? I'm putting you on the spot. The gist of it?
Different things. I talk about traditions because traditions are important to me. I feel like they bind a family together.
Yes.
I talk about my role as a wife. I think one of the lines in mine says, I'm my husband's #1 fan and his best teammate, because that's really important to me.
Nice. So it's a collection of phrases.
Being a true friend and being reciprocal in my friendships.
Oh, I think it's a fantastic challenge to revisit that vision statement, especially in this turnover chapter of the year. So thank you for bringing our attention to it. How can we get more from you, Jessi?
You can find me on Instagram at middlemoms or on my website at www.formiddlemoms.com.
All right, and how's the college kid doing?
She's doing great.
Okay, that was probably a hard
a moment I don't want to relive.
But she's there, she's happy. We're happy for her. Thank you.